Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995 Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back. Looking forward to you calling in. We have a nice studio audience, and as I always say, I'm as good as the questions. So anything that you can think of that you want to ask me, call in, but we're going to open it up with the studio audience here.
Hey Sally, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Dawn. How are you today?
Good. Before we even open it up to the audience, can you tell everyone, let's share your website, Art by Sally Bernard.
Yeah, artbysallybernard.com. And you know, once I get into this frame, I really need you to talk a little bit about it because I kind of concentrate in the spiritual world at this point. But I know that I've done art with paintings. This is part of a painting that we have in the studio here, and we've transformed it into clothing. So it's artbysallybernard.com. Please go in, and if you just have a look and see what it is, because my reaction from a lot of people is, oh, another website. But as I had told you, they go, wow. So here
It's
I am.
incredible. So it's all of your art that you've created while you've been on your journey.
Right.
And the visions you've seen and the collectives talking to you and you interpreting it on canvas, you are now having it on art.
Yeah.
Everything from pants to bathing suits,
To
shirts and shoes.
shoes and dresses and sweaters. So it's like my art came alive. And actually, I'm wearing something right now. This is the jogging pants that have been becoming very popular. I have them many different designs. I think maybe the one behind me might be one of them I have on there. So.
It's Art by Sally Bernard, BARNARD.com. And to call in right now, you can give Sally a call at 888-994-4995, Studio A. And we're very fortunate, Sally, you've got a live studio audience, and I know they're anxiously waiting to ask you some questions. So
I was going to say maybe we'll stop because they're kind of new to my show, so just so you get an idea with what maybe you have a question that you want to ask, and I really want to talk to you about that too. So if you want to just ask me something, and then we'll carry on with their questions. I think you'll feel better if you've heard a little bit of the show first, right? Okay.
Ask you something?
Yes.
All right, so G-Man is floating around somewhere. Everyone's always asking you what do their guides have to say, and it was Mother's Day, and I know holidays always bring out more and more.
They do, yes. People get more in, and I believe so with the spirit world too. And that was actually a good question to open up the show with, because we're aware of dates, but they are actually also aware. There is no time on the other side. Everything is kind of going on there is no time. But the thing is, they are aware of our time. So when it's a special day like Mother's Day or a birthday or an anniversary, they're around us. But just like us, they have other things to do too. But when it's a special day, and I'm getting goosebumps saying this, they are definitely more in tune with us. They are, but I think we're more in tune with them because we want to talk to our loved ones many times because they're not physically here to see us. So they're very aware of that. So they're very eager to talk to us. And I think we may listen more on an anniversary because we're feeling upset. The loved one that we've lost is not always there. So yes, that happened yesterday. There was a lot of things going on, and I'm happy to say that I was able to give a message to someone, and it was more actually for me too. As you know, I have also lost my daughter, and there's times like that when, especially on Mother's Day, you're very, very close, because my daughter used to call me, and I'm going to cry, which I don't usually do, but you just feel their presence more. I'm all right.
Yeah, go ahead. Well, she's always with you.
Yeah,
you
I
know
know
that she always sends messages, and you've got such a lovely granddaughter.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And as I text my granddaughter Sydney, because she lost her mum young in life, and I said, thinking of you, and she said, I'm thinking of you too, without actually saying anything, So I don't often bring my daughter up, but because of the situation here too, I think she's here around us.
And we have a very special portal here in the studio.
We do.
And the Jacopo family is here, and they were here for the midday show, and they stayed to be part of your show because spirituality is a new awakening for Brian.
And I think that, just because we can't see them, and I think this is important for anybody that's, well, we've all lost loved ones, but especially a child, because it's the wrong way round, so to speak. But they are always with us. They are always with us. And I know that you've had a loss, and it's not that long ago. But just know that they're very aware of how we feel. And they are here. And if a child, especially when you lose a child, but I feel very often, and it's difficult to understand, but especially any of our viewers that's lost a young child, or any child actually, we're on a learning curve here. And they come in to help us sometimes. We're here to help them, but vice versa too. So, in our way of thinking, and of course it's a loss, especially when a child is young, but they're doing what they're meant to do, if that makes sense to you. It's terrible and devastating, and I'm not making light of the situation at all. But they've done their job. But I think, and especially what you guys are doing, is a good way to describe that we can then go on and help other people too, through a loss, through a hurt of some kind. You very often, and I think I brought this up the other day on the show, if you remember, was it the guy, his child was kidnapped, who did the crime show? Adam Walsh.
Yeah.
If you think about it, what a tragedy that was too. But he went on to create a show because it helps the person going through it, but it also helps people that are going through situations like that. And sometimes I think that's a child's purpose. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I know what I hear from my guides, and I feel that. And I feel that, to bring this up, if you want, that I feel that he's here to tell you that. It's difficult for me to relay that because I know what I can feel, but no one can be 100% certain. But I do want to tell you that, and as Dawn and Freddie can tell you, that my show is not all about loved ones, it's about where we go and questions that I asked. But I've been pretty accurate, just to let you know, because you just met me with names and places. So I really do feel his presence. I feel his presence. I think when we pass, there is like a resting period for a little while, the best that I can tell you. But he passed just over a year ago, did you say?
Just under a year ago.
Just under, yeah.
He passed away on June 30th, 2024.
Okay, so again, there is no time, but there is a time sometimes when they have a resting period. In our time, we could say a year, 10 days, or it doesn't matter, but that's kind of what would happen. And he's ready to be much more around you. That makes sense. I mean,
I've felt that.
Good.
There was an experience where I feel like he's very much involved. And I guess I'm very new to spirituality, understanding this, so forgive me if I speak to this in a very much of a novice way, or I maybe picked up on something that isn't quite accurate. But as I'm going down this path and learning more, and my wife's brought a lot of this information to me, the idea of different types of souls, advanced souls, things of that nature. What are your thoughts, or maybe guidance as far as, was Ethan a more advanced soul?
Okay.
Was he somebody that fit in this life to teach us those lessons?
Yeah.
And ultimately, I guess the question is, I pray to Ethan, and I ask him for
I'm tuning
guidance.
into very much of what you said, and I'm in a way that's good. The conversation is actually going this way, because I answer very much two questions, because it's coming from a different place, as you are aware of. Yes, he was what we would call, quote, a very old soul. But it doesn't mean that he was old, that he knew a lot when he came in. He already knew that. He came in, again, as many children have done, to help other people too. And from what I know of you guys, it was comparatively new disease that they had found, and he's telling me that. But it was to educate. It was to, sometimes they come in, if a couple may be having difficulty or something, they come in for their parents. But I believe that his reason was to educate the world as it is today with what was wrong with him, and I believe his brother too. So yes, he wasn't what we would call an old soul. that meant he knew a lot, because we come into Earth, and we can come in many, many, many times, but we can also come in from other places and be new on Earth, but still be an old soul, if that makes sense to you. So that's what he's telling me. The grief period that you had, of course, it's difficult, of course. I mean, you literally wouldn't be human if you didn't go through that. But there was a purpose for his life, and not to go into it too much in detail, but you guys know, and you're following the right path with what you're doing. As far as everything that I can tell, and I'm being led to say that you are following the right path. And the fact that you came in, didn't have to come, well, I'm here a lot, but this show is only on a Mondays. I do another one on a Friday. And the fact that you were here, and it's happened many times here in the studio, as Dawn and Freddie can tell you that too, there is no, in my mind, no coincidences. It's synchronicity. And once you begin, I've had so much of the synchronicity happen to me, and this is just one more that was very important for you guys. And I never, ever take it for granted. I have that aha moment, just being able to sit and talk to you. I could say, well, well, in your situation, it's sad. Obviously, I wouldn't just say another synchronicity. It was a purpose behind that. And my purpose was to say that he came in to help people, as you guys are both doing now. So keep it up, okay?
And I guess that would flow with another question of, as far as, what could he speak to us as far as the word mission? How far does this go? Is it just about the Coats Plus Foundation? Is there something more?
No, it'll lead to something more. This is just the beginning. Once you get more into depth with this, you're going to meet all the people that you're meant to be meeting, because you are being guided, and not just from your son. You're not alone, okay? You are not alone. I promise you that from all that I know. They know you're suffering, but also, and of course, it makes me want to cry too, but just know that you are here for a purpose. Anybody that will talk about this type of thing, or is learning, who is opening up, I mean, just you and I, when we talked just for a few minutes, it didn't take a half an hour to bring this conversation up. It happened right away. And that's how it works. Because if you're in tune with this, yes, you grieve, and absolutely grieve, but just know that there's a bigger picture here, that we don't end our lives here. By no means do we end our lives here. They carry on with what they're doing, and they're here to help us. We have many different guides, many. We come down in a soul family. We're a group of people. And it could, I mean, to give a number, I can't really do that. It could be 30, it could be 60, but some of our soul family stays without incarnating. But they are the ones that are truly here to help us too, because they left. We kind of plan our life. I'm going a little further into this, a little more in detail. So along the way, we have free will, so it doesn't always go exactly the way we think it is. But if you listen to your gut, you will be able to follow, because they're here helping us. Having said that, the difficult periods in our life, they're here. And we've talked about what's going to happen in this life before we come in. So they know when you're going through, and they're very strong in telling me this, a difficult period. They're aware of that. So you have so much help around you. Pull on that. Pull on the guidance. Pull on your feelings. Pull in your inner depth of what you are feeling in your gut, because you will follow, as I'm doing myself. I mean, I'm started this at a late in life, but as I always say, I'm following my passion. And you know you're doing the right thing. There's something in you that says, go ahead and do this. My show is not all about what I'm doing, my art. I'm happy to do that. But it's also here to help people the best that I can. And I didn't find that out till quite a little later on in my own life, because I had so many situations, you guys don't know my story, that I knew that I had a life's purpose here, and I wasn't going to let it go. So I hope I helped you a little bit.
Thank you. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Anybody out there, or anyone in the studio, or Dawn, do you have anything that you?
I think he's another question.
Oh, I don't want to use all your time. I would
That's
respect
okay.
what it is out there, but if the opportunity presents, is there anything that Ethan could tell us about his brother? Anything Ethan could tell us about Liam?
Okay, he's very aware of this, and again, it's very hard. I can predict things, but I choose sometimes not to, because I can't always tell you that I'm right or wrong. I can only tell you what I feel. But just know that and I feel your pain. I'm also an empath, and I really feel this. But whatever is happening, I can't say it's going to be okay as we feel it's okay. We don't understand really what okay. If we feel okay, but there's so much work going on, and they're telling me to say behind the scenes, okay? And I know that I'm getting goosebumps. That's a very important word for me to tell you. You know that,
So,
okay? And take care of him
always
going
talk to
through
a
this, because he's
friend
just
of mine
opening
about
up
that.
and opening up and understanding. It doesn't happen overnight to understand the spirituality of this, but if you're open to, just open yourself a little bit, you'll see. It's hard right now because I honestly feel your pain, as I do myself with my own. But just know that you'll get through this, and your life is going to be very rewarding. It's going to be very beneficial. You're already helping people. Just sitting on this show with me, I want to help people. Here's all of us sitting here wanting to help people. But with that brings pain sometimes, brings gratitude. To wake up with gratitude is good, but then people can say, and I've been certainly guilty of this myself, oh, poor me. But in the bigger picture, there is so much more. We never, ever die. Okay, we're energy, and energy lives on. So just because you can't see your son, it doesn't mean that he's not here. Does that make sense? And I know it's new to you, but I feel that you understand this a little bit more. But that's all right. You've opened up. You don't have to believe what I'm even saying, but just keep an open mind. And his brother, your son, whatever is going to happen is going to be okay, because you know what? He's got your love. And love never, ever, and that's coming to me very strong, never dies. You're already doing good, because you mentioned on your show, and just like I don't know about you too much and you don't know about me, but you mentioned they're finding things today. This is what this is about. Can you see that? Little baby steps. But if they just find something, they're aware of what your children have had or have got, one is going through. But they're aware of that now. If you hadn't have done this, they wouldn't be aware. So sooner or later, somebody else is going to be going through this. I know it's comparatively rare disease, but just by finding just a little thing, that little thing will lead to something else. So keep going on doing what you're doing. Keep up the good work. Your son, the one you're looking after, needs your love. He knows your love, and that's what's important. And in a way, I believe that truly helps us. People recover from things sometimes, and you say, well, how did that happen? But I'm a big believer that we ourselves can actually, I can't say always cure, but we've heard some great things, and love is a very good way to describe what can happen to you. If you love yourself and you're going through something, you get better. So just carry on and go and do what you're doing. You guys are doing, I'm so happy that I met you, and I know a little bit about you as you do me, and keep up the good work, because it is good work, okay?
Thank you.
Did you have anything, Danielle?
This is incredible to have this experience. This is really a dream come true, actually. I watch a lot of podcasts and documentaries and read books on mediums and channels, and I feel like it's come a long way, even in just the last 5 years or so, where it wasn't as mainstream at all, but I've always been in tune with it. I don't have abilities myself. I know everyone can, and you can develop them.
Yes, I was going to say everyone
I
is
know
psychic, but it's up to us.
Right, and it takes a lot of trust in yourself
Right,
to
it does.
develop that. There's so many questions. This is more of a human question, because I know he's not in a physical human body on the other side, but I always find myself wondering, it's eternity over there, right? There is
no time.
There's no time. What does he do all
We choose to
day?
come back and reincarnate, and we can come back many, many times.
Yes.
And when we basically just explain that a little more, and I know because you've been listening to many of the Gaia programs that I listen to too, is that when we come here, we're on that learning process. And during that period of time, as long as you begin to open up, so many wonderful things happen, but it's still a learning process. And
Yes.
if you listen to some of my past shows, we talk about karma. Karma goes around, what goes around comes around, so to speak. But we basically choose our karma because we know what's happened we don't remember in previous lives. So very often, we kind of come in to settle some of that karma. We may not, and it's not always in this lifetime, it can be the next, but when you finally, let's say, have learned as much as, I'm not going to say your lesson because there are many, many more, but when you've basically learned what you can in our 3D dimension, which is pretty low actually, we graduate and go to a slightly higher dimension. But you've got to, I say you've got to, you don't have to do anything, but what we have decided that we will get through this, and we get, the more we get to where we're going to graduate possibly is when we have a tougher life actually. That toughness makes you want to open up, be it death, be it anything. It makes you stronger in ourselves to realize maybe there is something else. Why did that person suddenly come into my life today? Why did I just hear that song on the radio? Just little things, but you're beginning to open your mind a little bit more. And it takes more than that, and it does take work. It takes work, but it's so rewarding. And when you finally learned that in this particular, I'm going to say dimension actually, then you will graduate to a higher dimension. And that doesn't mean that everything is great on the fourth or fifth G. It's a different type of graduation now. You're here to learn more and more and more. Because we have free will, and I talk about that a lot. And sometimes it keeps us stuck because we're not listening to our gut. But when you do, and the more you open up to the reality that there is so much more, the more you're going to see with synchronicity. And when we're done with this one, we will graduate to the next dimension, and the next, and the next. Finally, and I don't know at the very end when we've got it, because I don't want to go any further than that. Right now we're just talking here. But it's worth the journey. It's worth the journey. And all the, what we call bad things or horrible things happen, it's our learning. It's learning. It's all about graduating. Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
A lot of growth from the challenges, I hear.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I've had a very difficult life, but it may be difficult in some ways from other people's lives, but we all have. Nobody goes through this life with everything all great. This is not going to happen because we probably wouldn't be on this lower plane. So, but it's a learning. It's very tough, this particular life, because we've chosen to learn hard knocks, I guess.
You spoke to the idea of, the several souls around us and guiding us. Is there anybody that comes to you for us other than Ethan? Is there any?
No, but I keep getting a name, and I'm not sure if it's for you, but I didn't really want to say anything like it could be for. I'm getting a name, and it's Timothy. Does that mean anything to anybody in here? Timothy, Freddie? No, so it's not related to you. Okay, it's just, and I'm usually good with names, as you know. I'll just suddenly a name, but
That's the
no.
documentary person.
Well, I mean, are we talking about Timothy that is not here, or Timothy that is here?
Doesn't matter.
Well, yes. So.
That's not unusual, by the way. People go,
So-
oh yes.
I thought you meant something on the other side.
Oh, I'm
so
getting good.
there's,
No, it doesn't have to be the other side.
There's a Tim that is in my orbit that actually is the he runs New City Players in downtown Fort Lauderdale, a theater troupe, but also he's a producer, and we were in very detailed conversations about a documentary/slash movie, and we're about to start filming in the not too distant future. And of course, when you have a child with rare disease, our patient pool isn't as large as some other diseases. But how to get where we need to go is we understand that our story needs to become louder. We're able to tell our story to provide healing for other people, and then that might be able to get us to where we need to be to be able
So
to save
how wonderful
them.
was that? That was a message
That
for you to
was-
know that you're on the right track, right? Because that name has been on my mind now, and I didn't necessarily want to say anything for the last hour. So, yeah, I kept, but I tried to forget it, but it came back. But I wasn't 100% certain it was for you guys, but of course it is. We've just been talking about that to get the word out. My message for you is you're on the right track, which I had said anyway. So none of this is, can you see how this
Yeah,
isn't
not
coincidence?
shocked.
So it's to,
Just love it.
actually it's to jumpstart you a
Right,
little bit
right, let's
into,
go.
you don't have to believe this, but you're opening your mind, okay? It had to be something that you guys could really relate to here. That's how I started. I had to be at least banged on the head. But suddenly I'm drawing from previous lifetimes. I meet my guide, he knows all about me. He was painting himself or writing and reading at a year old. He's in my life physicality. I needed that. And I'm drawing from previous lives. I needed that to believe. I needed to do that. And today, 20-something years later, it's all making sense to me.
Amazing.
Well, Tim Davis, it looks like we're moving forward with that project.
There you go. So I'm happy that I was debating, you know, I have to really, and you've seen me do this before, say something, even if it makes no sense to me, because I don't know a Tim or Timothy, you know, but, okay. You know something? I said Timothy, right?
Yes.
Yes. I was going to say Tommy, and they corrected that.
Yeah, we don't know. Tom.
So the time was right for me on the show here to say that. That's just validation for me, okay?
okay.
That's not what I thought I heard. There you go.
Listen, here you
Yeah.
go.
Because we were talking about that right now. Yeah. But you've seen a lot happen, right?
I see it all. You ready to take your commercial break?
Yes, we are. I don't know what the.
All right, she's going to take a quick commercial break. More to come on the other side of this
See you.
commercial.
Yeah. That's what I always say.
A True Story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail on how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show. Hi, welcome back to the other side of this program. Okay, any questions?
What's that feel like for you, Sally, when you get validation?
I like it. I can't say it's from ego because you know that I'm not, you know, we can all do this. But I do like it when because I don't always say a name, but when I do, it's so important because, you know, you can hear lots of different names, but when I have a name in front of me, it doesn't matter where I am, or a message, I need to voice it because it may not mean anything to me, but I don't know, it's meaning it to somebody else. So it makes me feel good. It makes me that I'm doing my job the way that I'm meant to. So that's my answer.
Freddie, you have a question?
Freddie.
I wanted to bring up the subject matter, Sally, that we have talked in the past about having multiple spheres or things going on at the same time. And what we choose to see and live is the dimension that we are currently living with, which is really a difficult thing for a lot of people to understand. But I wanted to ask the question that I guess it doesn't have age when you choose to pick another dimension and leave a dimension.
No. Yeah, and I kind of know what you're saying, Freddie, because Aldo used to call this our core existence. In other words, we're aware of this, and this is really difficult to understand, especially it is even for me too. But we are in many, you may, because you've listened to a few programs, we're not just here, we're in different places. So there's no age to that. We can, we actually, what happens is if we suddenly remembered all that we are and where we are, we wouldn't be able to function. So we have what we would call, our memory is like wiped out over certain situations. But I learned very much that this to me was very real, because I started to astral project, which I was doing 3 times a week for nearly a year. And I was going to different places, but I was becoming aware. This is partly what my older book is about, and my journeys, which I documented. And I was seeing places, because I'm from London in England, and I was going to, like in those days they had coffee houses, and I actually saw where I used to go and many situations that I saw. So I believe this is absolutely, for me, 100% possible, because I've experienced it. I've also, which I don't come out with, which I'm beginning to now a little bit, which I came out on this show, that I've been abducted many times. I didn't know that. I thought I was just astral projecting. But when I started to actually read my own story, I said, well, how was I able to talk to people, because I knew I was in a craft, if I was astral projecting? So I know that I feel very much that you want to ask me something. Oh my gosh, I'm getting it very strong.
Well, I did not expect this level of openness today.
That's okay.
It's just you're touching upon things that, Brian Jacobo, very logic-based, attorney, and I think that Brian Jacobo of a year ago, was a skeptic when he would hear certain things, but some things that you're speaking to right now, people have come to me with messages, and then I am stepping into this world and I'm relating back to other stories I know of from people close to me that still, when you hear them, I'm a skeptic, but now relating back and now more of openness, things you're speaking to as far as the abduction aspect. If you have an openness to kind of speak a little bit to that, because there's somebody close to my orbit that has a similar story, that there was a third party there that saw it from their perspective, which gave credibility to that story. And now that you're speaking to that, I would love to kind of hear maybe a little bit more about that, if you're open to that.
Absolutely, 100%. And even I know what has happened to me, and sometimes I questioned it, and it's only recently I realized that these were abductions. And it's hard to take this in, even though it's happened to you. But I will say that I recently got married about 2.5 years ago, and one night, I don't know exactly what's happening to me in my sleep, because I know what I see, but I never am frightened. But in this particular one time, I called out help. And my husband, who was watching television at the time, came in. This has actually happened to me twice with him, and he couldn't wake me. I was completely paralyzed. And it's not a scary thing, because I've never had anything really scary. But he saw firsthand that I was not there. I was somewhere else. And gradually I couldn't talk, so I'm trying to, because I quit. It was good for both of us to see that, because as much as my mind knows what was happening to me, I also think this is ridiculous. How could this be happening? That's normal. I'm a human being. But twice I have been totally paralyzed. And if I went to a regular doctor, they'd give me 1 million tests. There's nothing wrong with me. I went to sleep and I got paralyzed. So in other words, of course we question it. But the more you begin to accept it, which I have 100% today, I know that I've been to many different places. I've seen many, many different things. And when I have listened to Gaia, which I use, and I talk about Gaia a lot on this program, I always seem to tune it in to which is because my guide has passed, the one that was here on Earth with me. I say to him, show me something, show me what I'm meant to listen to this television program. And I switch it on, and it's always exactly what I'm meant to hear. That isn't coincidence either. So I wanted to know more about this, and I was very reluctant, although I wrote in my book about visiting other planets. I know what I saw, but this is going back about 18, 19 years ago. It wasn't as acceptable as it is today. It's pretty accepted today that, we're not alone on this. Well, people are hearing that we're not alone on this planet, and there are people that can abduct us. There's been many, many stories.
So what's interesting is, again, this is not a story of my own, but this is somebody
okay.
in my orbit that is not a loon or anything like that, is pretty well grounded. When he was younger, he had an experience where someone came to him in the middle of the night with a glow to them, and they were speaking, but they weren't communicating with words, they were communicating telepathically. And like that, he was somewhere else. He was told they were inviting him to come with them, but they couldn't force him to come with them. And ultimately, he had to make the choice. And he said, I don't want to leave my parents. I couldn't do it. But he had an experience where, there's fruit. He tasted fruit. Is the most beautiful, tasting fruit. All his senses were engaged, beautiful music. And when, he ended up back in his bed, he was sharing bunk beds with his cousin. And as, he went on with the night, the light started coming in the morning, and he called out to his cousin, like, hey, did you see anything weird last night? And his cousin was freaked out and said, are you kidding me? You were here, and then you weren't here, and he described the guy. And so, these men that grew up ended up having very high levels, very respectable men, not any type of oddity, and that always kind of stuck with me, that story. So I don't know if I'm obviously not speaking directly to it. I don't want to,
No, that's okay.
But in a roundabout way, have you heard similar stories or have had similar experiences
many.
that were like that to kind of fill in some of that?
Many. I don't know if he's in Florida or if he'd like to maybe come here. I could meet him because I would like to. Because you often question your own self. I have questioned myself many times, but it happened to me, and it's happened to me many, many times today. And more people are coming out with that. I'm glad that you came out with that story. I would love to speak to that gentleman. I mean, he may or may not want to talk to me, but I believe that it would be important to tell him that he didn't imagine any of this. I believe it's 100% what he experienced. Anything is possible. It's how we accept it. We can go anywhere at any time. We can do anything. And I get very often, follow your passion. And that has meant a lot to me, is to help people just like you're talking to me about this gentleman. I like to share my stories because people can relate part of what's happened to me or something that has happened to them that I can relate to. It's very important to share these stories, very important.
And what's interesting is we have circumstantial evidence about kind of what's going on in these direct stories. My question would be this: do we have any indication about why? Why these visits? Why these abductions? Okay. Why these experiences? What is the outcome of that? What is the output that someone or something is seeking from these experiences?
Great question, Brian. Because I believe, and again, I do believe that there's going to be visitation from a lot of people, and it's imminent. When I say that, it could be a year, it could be 2. They are going to show themselves to us, but they have to do this gradually. Disclosure has to be very, very slow, because otherwise people are going to freak out, absolutely. But it's already started to happen. And through individuals saying that they've seen someone, they may tell somebody else, as I'm telling my story, it begins to stabilize it a little bit, if that's the word they're using, to bring that balance in that we're not alone. And we're getting, when I say near, it could still be 7 or 8 years from now, but because there's no time. But there are people amongst us that are here that, we're not necessarily, well, we see them, we can see them, but there are sometimes that we don't necessarily see them. They're around us, but it doesn't mean they're not here. Disclosure is coming close. Disclosure is going to be here. We are not alone. And your friend who saw that, to tell people what he's seen, and it happens to anybody. It can happen to someone. I don't want to use class distinctions, but it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. It can be a highly intelligent person or someone that isn't. I mean, I'm not here to judge anybody, but it happens, and it doesn't matter. They'll pick some people, or some people are ready, but they don't necessarily know they're ready. This is very important too, very important. Disclosure.
When we talk about these specific types of experiences, do we know if this is extraterrestrial? Is this, spiritual, or a combination of the two? Do we have, and also when we speak to certain things, what is the certainty of that answer? Are we using imperfect information to come to that conclusion? or are we being speculative when it comes to the question of, is this extraterrestrial, is this celestial, is this spiritual, these experiences, or a combination thereof?
It's a combination of all 3 or 4 things that you put in there. It's a combination. And also, and this is just coming to me too, it's what we are perceiving as. They are already here. They do come from other planets, so it's I can't even say it myself right now because I'm getting all sorts of messages here. They'll show themselves when they're ready. There are many people that have already seen or met people from a different planet. There are many, as far as what I've been told, many different planets. But the ones that are going to look more like us are going to be the first ones to show themselves here. There are other, I mean, I used to watch Star Trek a lot, okay? And there's a lot of truth in Star Trek. And I was addicted to that program for a long time, not knowing that I was going to see all these entities. But I just was well, not addicted so much, but very fascinated to Star Trek. And now today I see it. There are people, let's say, working behind the scenes that will only show you as much as they want to let you know. So just know that too. So we are only able to see a certain amount. But there is, because I don't want to say we're controlled, but there is a lot of things going on that we're not privy to, so to speak. But we still can read between the lines, and more people are getting open towards this because, you know, someone mentioned to me the other day, and this made sense, when you came out with this many thousands of years, you were burnt at the stake. They'd call you a witch because they don't want this to come out. But we're so ready now because we're even in this 3D world, as we call it here. It's actually itself, Earth is lifting up, going into a higher vibrational energy. And the ones that are not ready, I'm going to say we're leaving behind, but that's not, you know, that's just an expression because they're not ready to go to the 3rd or 4th or 5th D. But it is happening, and in order for that to happen, we need to know these things. We need to understand these things. But that's entirely up to us. I never tell people you need to do that because that's not what I'm here for. I'm only here to say what I believe is happening. But some people are just not ready, and that's fine. They may not be ready for another few more lifetimes. But the ones that are, it's very important to open their minds more to this, very much so.
And I think another question I have is just for maybe the casual viewer out there that's interested in this, in the skeptic's mind. When we approach anything in life, we have a filtration system in our brain about weighing evidence, giving credibility, verifying, in order to give credibility to these thoughts. Obviously, in this space, it's kind of hard to verify and double check when in this space because not everybody has a direct experience. It's not open. What advice would you give to people that are listening to your story and listening to your perspective about ways that they could kind of help them with their filtration system to be more open to conversations like this?
Absolutely, and I always say this, have an open mind. That's more important than anything, except what we would call the unacceptable. That just came to me too. Be aware that we're much more than what we believe we are. Be aware that there's so much more going on, and I'm going to say the word behind the scenes again, which I think I had mentioned. There's so much more because we're energy. Energy never dies, okay? So we attract where we are because we're energy. You probably heard the law of attraction. It's basically what we're talking about, but we are like here, we're sitting, I just met you, but this has happened many times in the studio here. So I can't give myself all I attracted you guys. Every aspect of this, everybody that's sitting here had a part to play in us meeting today. And it goes on. Nobody that you meet, even if it's for a few minutes, has some purpose. Now, you can't go around living your life that way. Oh, I must talk to that person because they bumped into me. No, but everything has a meaning and a purpose. And when you become more and more aware of that, you will find that synchronicity is happening so much more than what we expected. My husband didn't believe very much of this. Today, because we've had so much synchronicity, it's difficult to deny that. I mean, as talking about children again, as I'd lost my daughter, shortly afterwards I had met my husband, At that time we were engaged, and I was telling him about my daughter, and her initials were LCS. And we were driving up somewhere we were on a drive, and a car goes, as I'm telling the story, and this is just one of many, many things. It had LCS on it. Now, of course, that could be coincidence, but when these little things, or big things really, happen time and time again, question it. That's what I want people to do. Say, oh my gosh, this has to be more than coincidence. And you start to, we have synchronicity all the time. We just don't listen or look or feel. It's there.
Steve says, Sally, you are amazing. He's watching from
That's
32,000 feet. So I guess he's on an airplane watching
Yes,
you.
he is. Yeah. Thank you.
You're on point today, Sally.
Well, I mean, for some reason, there's something about these cameras when the lights go on, and I feel that I'm here to help. It's not me. I honestly can say that really we can all do this. We're not ready. I was ready 20 years ago, and someone comes into my life that literally entered my dream that night, because I dreamt I was flying. You don't know too much of my story. I'm getting a message to start to draw. And I know, I can still remember all my quote dreams, but they were astral projection. I had no idea what was happening to me. I go to work first thing in the morning, there's this guy standing behind me, and I'm thinking, where was I last night? Everything seems so bright and so wonderful, but I couldn't figure it out. He literally tapped on my shoulder, waiting to get a coffee with me. He was behind me, and he looked at me, and his first words were to me, I know where you were last night. I think, who is this person? I don't even know where I was. But he proceeded every aspect of what I saw in, quote, dream. He told me what I had seen. How in the world was I ready? Yeah, but I didn't know I was. How could I have even began to understand that? But I knew that he described my so-called dream to me. So it was important for me to have something really specific to fall back on. So when all these things happened all the time, his words were, he was my guide for nearly 19 years in this life. He never left my side. Well, it went away. We weren't a couple, but we were very good friends. We were together all the time. He led me into all these things that had happened. I would say we weren't literally in physicality all the time together, but he never missed a phone call every night to me. So.
And something you touched upon is that we come here for lessons, and we come here to learn, and we come here to grow and graduate, if you will. I guess another question is, because I asked about it from a different frame, maybe it's a similar question, but ultimately, if source energy, universal energy, and spirit are coming down, and we need these lessons, what is this building towards? Like, what is the ultimate end game here that the universe needs this growth as far as the spirits? What is, I think that's the $1 million question, right?
Yeah, no, that's a two-part question, actually. The first part is that Earth needs help. So the more that we can give love to Earth, Earth is, silly to say an entity, but Earth is Earth, okay? It feels, it knows what's going on. Look what Earth is doing to us right now. Can you just give me the second part? Because sometimes I...
Well, the second part, it was more kind of, if energy is matter, matter is energy equals
Right.
MC squared. Ultimately, when we have the spirit world coming down here for us to learn these lessons, why do we need to learn these lessons? Because obviously there would be no need to learn lessons unless it's building towards
It's
something.
building absolutely towards something, but your mind is only going to take it, little by little, as he used to say to me. This is not it. This is just a speck, just like that, and we're gone. We go somewhere else, but we come back. We don't have to incarnate, but it's like not finishing a book. Why would you not want to? So the more that you can graduate, it's not school, it's graduation time. So maybe we haven't got ready to graduate, so we stay in this dimension. When we graduate, to put it easily, to maybe, even for me to explain it, we go to university on the next level, but that doesn't mean we've finished our training. We go on and on because we graduate from that level and we go to another dimension. I think I'm not sure myself, and they're saying 7, some people say 12. It doesn't matter. And it doesn't matter how long you're in school on a particular dimension. We're here, our choice. This is our choice to do this. Many entities don't come in. They just stay where they are. But as Aldo used to say, and it was so overpowering in the beginning, I couldn't take it in. But I learned a lot, because when you're ready, it's like you know what's going on here, but you want to experience it. Say you have what you're eating. You can see, let's say they see us eating, but they're not getting the taste of it, if that makes sense. That's how they're telling me to explain it to you. You want to be able to feel and taste. Whilst you can do other things when you're not here, it's not the same.
From my understanding, it's exactly what you're saying, but like the fullness of the experience you
That's
come
right,
for, the
exactly.
sensualities,
Exactly.
the fullness of emotions. As a human, we all want happy, amazing, and fun experiences, but truly, from my understanding, we sign up for the full spectrum and everything in between.
Perfect.
Because as a spirit, you can experience all of that because there's no contrast.
That's right.
Right? Is that
It's
accurate?
like if everything was all black, you don't know what white is. If everything is all right,
Right.
that's why you need that balance, which we're learning when we're here, because we're actually seeing both sides to a story, basically. Yeah, and we're feeling it. So how you
you're-
describe that is
from
perfect.
what I understand from another artist, also who channels a lot of artwork, she says souls crave to be here, to incarnate in a physical body is hugely. It's like the gold star, if you will.
Yep.
You're super fortunate to be able to incarnate and feel everything we
Yeah.
can feel.
But we've
see what
chosen
we
a
can
very
see.
difficult one here. We don't have to be here. We can go to there are other planets and there are other planes. But this really, we have terrible, what we call awful things happen. But the more that you begin to understand this, as you know, the more Aldo used to say to me, when you're experiencing tough times, look at it from as if you're looking upon yourself from the third person type of thing. You're feeling it, but you can't detach from obviously something that's really sad, but observe it. That's the word I'm looking for. Observe it. And it makes life just that little bit easier for you, because this is not it. It is not it. As you know, you've gone through and going through tragedy, what we call tragedy, and there's no other word to say that it isn't. But there is so much more. And I believe so much, you guys, that this was meant to be today. That's really coming to me. It was meant to be. And I've said that to other people here, but this is stronger than ever. You guys needed this. It's up to you on your journey. I know you're a little more ahead of Brian, but there's no real...
It's just validating for me to
doesn't
hear
matter.
it again
Yes,
and again and again.
it's
and
okay.
again.
And when you're ready, which I can't tell you that you are, I mean, but I can say that
right.
you've kept your mind open a little bit, okay?
I've so yes, I must admit I am new to the scene when it comes to this.
You're ready.
But things have been breaking open for me, and not quite ready to share all that on a
No.
grander scale. But also I've been told by others in my realm that more and more things are going to be happening. And for me, it's kind of, I'm blown away of all of a sudden stepping into this, and my awareness is being opened, that I feel like I've been blind for many
No.
years. Now I could see, and now it's just a very interesting place I'm at right now, and I'm still processing a lot of things. But also, I guess a question that I would have would be this: Danielle speaks to the idea of soul pacts and soul groups, and basically agreements about who your children are selecting parents and things of that nature. I don't know if you could share a little bit more about that concept and maybe something that we can pull in our situation from that.
Well, I'm on exactly the same mindset that you are too, because we do come in, we choose who our parents are going to be, we choose our lives before we come in. And sometimes you, and especially you guys right now, can question why this is, and we've all had a lot in our lives. But you basically, the bigger picture is that in order to graduate, we have to have experiences of all different, this is just coming to me, of all different situations. And as I think I said before, that the tougher it is, the more ready you're able to more, I'm going to say accept it, but to look at the bigger picture. And the more you are to graduating from this particular dimension, you're going to have some pretty tough times, okay? It's not going to be easy, but the way to look at it is that, okay, I'm learning. I'm going to helping other people in love are very, very important, both of those situations. So if you're helping someone, you're sending love out to that person who desperately needs that. So you're going to be drawn, which you already are, to the right people with the situation that you're going through. Don't close that door because it's wide open right now. I'm feeling that so strongly. And with your help, Brian is going to understand more. You're his teacher right now because you understand. And just know that, Brian, you're not alone. Believe me, I feel your pain. It's pain. But growth comes from pain too. Growth shows you what we can be and how strong we really are and how, above all, we can love and help other people. That's really what the plan is. Wow, I'm even surprised at myself. I mean, I have to do this. I think we have 2
Sure, we
more
can't
minutes.
extend this for another hour?
Well, actually, just to say that I'm not necessarily saying this to you, but I am open for private readings, which I have in the cafe here. We go into the other studio, and I'm delighted, if you want to call or come into the studio if you're local, and we can have sessions here, which I have done a few. So.
It's amazing.
And thank you for everything that you brought to us. Very much on point with an experience that we're having that you in the human form don't fully even know, but you've actually touched us in many different ways with the information you brought to us today.
Thank you.
And I feel the same, where nothing happens by accident. It was only a few days ago where I met the wonderful people of this studio, and in a very short time frame, we're here now having these types of conversations. And it hasn't just been this angle. There's been other things in our orbit where things are happening at a more rapid pace, and we believe it's building towards something. But all I know is this: I have surrendered to the universe and said, if this is the path that's going, take me. Use my body as a vessel, the avatar, whatever you want to call it.
Beautiful.
And there's spirits working through me and around me towards something in a collective goal, and I play my role in this. I fully surrendered to that, and maybe it took the losing of something you love more than anything, and fighting for someone that you love more than anything.
Of course.
Maybe that's what it took for me to crack open. But I'm listening.
And you're being helped. We're going to end it because I think we've come to the end. But just know that you are not alone. You have so many people helping you, including your son, okay? And your other son, the one that's still here. Spiritually, we can do a lot even when we're here. I'm going to say goodbye. Please tune in next week. Please take a look at my clothing on art. And I'll be back next week. Thank you.
By
Thank you very much.
SallyBernard.com.
Thank you.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.